The South Carolina Gamecocks are preparing for the Illinois Fighting Illini in the Cheez-it Bowl. I've already put together my preview of the game, but folks, we have news coming in for the South Carolina Gamecocks as it pertains to the lineup that we are going to see, the depth chart. So I figured, you know what, let's put together a video. I also haven't put together a lot of Gamecocks content recently, and to be honest, the Gamecocks content is taking off, folks, and it is much appreciated. For any Gamecock fans that are tuning into this channel, please hit that subscribe button. And folks, before we get into who's going to play, who's not going to play, I feel like I have missed some things over the past few weeks, some recognition that should be called out, starting with the SEC honors. Specifically, Defensive Player of the Year, not a surprise here, going to Kyle Kennard. He also got the award for best linebacker in the country. This dude has been balling, and to be honest, I've talked about him a lot. I really hope there's a way that the Carolina Panthers can figure out a way to draft him. And let's be honest, there have been a lot of successful Gamecocks in the NFL, and quite a few of those guys now on the active roster for the Carolina Panthers. Also want to give a shout out to Lenora Sellers for winning Freshman of the Year honors for South Carolina. Fantastic year for him. There's going to be a lot of expectations and hype heading into next year, but you have to feel good about what we saw this year. Now, the biggest snub to me when we talk about the SEC honors has to be Coach of the Year. I understand that Vanderbilt had a good season, finished, 6-6. Clark Lee gets the honor. I think that's a total scam, and it's a shame that Shane Beamer did not get the recognition he deserved. Now, I know he was a finalist, but he should have won the award, because if you look at expectations for this season with the South Carolina Gamecocks, a lot of people had them at the bottom of the conference, near the bottom, and most folks were talking 5 or 6 wins tops. Nobody thought that this team would be able to compete the way that they did week in and week out in the SEC, the way they did against Clemson, the way they took care of business in their non-conference slate. Folks wrote them off, and they did the things that other teams couldn't do. They did beat Kentucky. They did beat Vanderbilt. They did beat Oklahoma, and they lost to some really good teams in Alabama, Ole Miss, and LSU. They were competitive in every single game except the Ole Miss game. So I really think it's a shame. Shane Beamer should have gotten that award. But we're here now today to get you caught up on the Cheez-it Bowl. A few headlines coming into this game. We know Dow Loggins is now the head coach of Appalachian State Mountaineers. There was initially some speculation that Dow would call the game as the offensive coordinator for App State, but since then, since the announcement that he's taken the job, we now know that Mike Shula is the offensive coordinator. Again, name should ring a bell for a lot of Carolina Panthers fans. So you have Mike Shula officially designated as calling the game. As I record this today, Shane Beamer went into the post-practice presser, met with the media. Shout out to all the guys that report that stuff, that get it out to us so we can consume it. So that was probably the biggest news coming out of it. I think the other news, and no surprise here, that Kyle Kennard is not going to be playing. However, I think the biggest update that we got is who's going to be playing running back. So Rocket Sanders, if you look at the depth chart, and folks, you can do this. So if you are not familiar, a lot of teams will put together their game notes. We have the game notes released on the South Carolina website today. It's an 86-page document, so it will get you prepared for this game. Has every nook and cranny that you would want to go through. But we are here to talk about the running back position. So again, Rocket Sanders will not play. So at running back, you have Juju McDowell and Oscar Attaway III. So both of those guys are going to be your running backs. We know Dylan Stewart is going to be one of your edge defenders. And then on the opposite side of him, you have Brian Thomas Jr. likely getting the start. Again, depth chart is up and available. I don't think there's really any other surprises. Possibly the right guard position and maybe the third wide receiver. You have Torselli Simpkins III or Trovon Ball. Had to look at that at the right guard position. And then Gage Larvidan and Kendrivius Jacobs as your or And then there's just a ton of updates out there. But that's probably the most significant news coming into this game. So the positive side is you are going to see a lot of the star power that we saw throughout this season. And there is a lot riding on this game. And for me, as you know, you guys know, I'm a fan, part-time fan of the South Carolina Gamecocks. We've extensively talked about that. But one of the things as a fan of football and as a fan of college football, I think a lot of times when we get into bowl season, a lot of people brush it under the rug. And to be fair, there's a lot of bad bowl games out there. And there's a lot of bad teams in bowl games. And you look at the transfer portal, you're trying to figure out who's going to play, who's not going to play, who's moving around, who's left. But it's a big game for South Carolina. One, the chance to get to 10 wins. That is significant. You're talking about getting to 10 wins. South Carolina has won 6 games in a row, so this would be the 7th game. A South Carolina win over Illinois would give the Gamecocks their 10th win of the season. That's their highest mark since posting an 11-win season in 2013. We've talked about that. Gamecocks have won 10 or more games just 4 times in their school history. So you're talking about one of the 5th best seasons in school history getting to that 10th win. It would extend the Gamecocks winning streak to 7 games, which we talked about. That was last accomplished in 2011 to 2012. And the last time they won 7 games in a single season consecutively was in 1984. So you're talking about the first time they've done this since 1984 in one season, because 11 to 12 spanned across 2 seasons. It would extend their school record to a 5th win over a ranked opponent this season. Remember, they defeated 3 ranked opponents in a season 6 times prior to this. Most wins. Again, top 25 matchup against Illinois. We talked about who's here, who's not going to be there. I look at this as an opportunity for the South Carolina Gamecocks to take this momentum into the offseason. We've seen the acquisitions through the transfer portal. We've seen the recruiting class. We've seen what Shane Beamer has been able to do. This is your chance to get some younger guys involved on the defensive side of the ball. I really like bowl games for this perspective. I know guys are going to sit, so it gives you that next man up mentality. And I don't think this is a bowl game where we see South Carolina, sitting on the sidelines. They know this is one of the best bowls out there. On New Year's Eve, December 31st, people are going to be watching, at least I hope you are, in the afternoon. And it's a chance, again, to get to that 10-win mark, take that momentum into the next year, and get you a chance to really look at this offense for the first time. Shane Beamer today joked that if you wanted to scout the Mike Shula offense, I think you go back to the early, is it Bama or Oklahoma days? Either way, Shane Beamer joked about going back to the early 2000s to scout the Shula offense. And I joked you could go back to the 2013 to 2017 run with the Carolina Panthers when he was the OC and they made the Super Bowl run. To be honest, they had a pretty similar quarterback at the helm in Cam Newton. So all jokes aside, you probably could pull some things from there. But I'm excited to see what Mike Shula is going to bring. I don't think 3 to 4 weeks is enough to complete a brand new install, but it is an opportunity to showcase, again, new running back, get these receivers involved, lean on the run game that Lenore Sellers can bring. And again, Mike Shula's done that. He's been able to carry that over with Cam Newton. So I'm excited for it. Should be a good game. We'll be back with the post-game breakdown, give you my reactions to that. And until next time, this is Carolina Dad. Y'all have a good one.